Well, hello and welcome to this introduction to anthropology. In this lesson, this corresponds to Module 1 or Chapter 1 in your book. I'm going to be introducing what is anthropology as a concept and some of the basic elements and aspects of anthropology that I need you to start keeping in mind as we work through all the materials and documents that I have prepared for you for this first module and chapter. Let's move right along. So the first thing that I want to share with you is that anthropology is a fascinating discipline, and I think this recorder is a good example of why the discipline is so interesting. You have to go out there, you have to mingle with people, you have to relate to them to start getting data. So it's a science that is not an office science, but it's an out there science. Fieldwork, as the book will explain, is that thing that we do that so attracts people to this career. We're expected to be out there. So anthropology as a discipline, what it is an approach that brings everything together so that we can explain different phenomena of human life. That's what we call holistic. That is a discipline that is all-encompassing. For example, if I would like to know what is education like, it wouldn't be enough for me to go to the classroom and see what the interaction was like. I would need to, in addition, take a look at the economics of it, the politics, the contents, the forms, everything that surrounds education, even the biological makeup of students and teachers. How do we hear, how do we speak, and all those elements together will better help us understand any aspect of humankind. So anthropology is an all-encompassing discipline, and this is the reason why we call that a holistic discipline. Anthropology is divided into four subfields, at least in the American tradition. There are other anthropological traditions in the world, but we're exploring the American one. And the American tradition of anthropology, which is one of the first established and more potent of all traditions that are out there, without a doubt, divides the discipline into four subfields, as I was indicating. First one is biological anthropology. That is the subfield that explores the human experience from the perspective of humans as biological entities, as living populations. And it explores a number of things that are of great interest. Human genetics, for example, which is one of the areas of biological anthropology that are more promising in terms of better helping us understand who we are and where we come from. And human evolution, of course, is another whole aspect of biological anthropology that has had a major impact on our understandings. The fossil record, you probably have in mind those discoveries of Lucy, the Australopithecine that was discovered in Africa some dozens of years ago, but that so much explain about our origins. So the fossil record has been always a subject of fascination and a source of understanding of who we are, where we come from as a species. But biological anthropologists also explore non-human primates as a way to better understand some of our basic behaviors, and of course the biology of living populations. So that is more or less what the biological or physical anthropology encompasses. Another area of interest in anthropology would be the one that I'm more closely linked to, that is cultural anthropology. And cultural anthropology focuses on humans' ability to produce culture, to generate a symbolic life that is filled with meanings, behaviors, and technologies. And that's what cultural anthropologists will be keenly interested in. Cultural anthropology subdivides in multiple subfields from economic, political, and gender studies, and there's great many number of different types of cultural anthropologists, and their because their interests are as varied as the cultural life of humans is. So culture is the core of cultural anthropology as a fundamental trait of our species. A third aspect or subdiscipline of anthropology is linguistics. Linguistics is a very important subfield. It's such a complex field that has become a discipline on its own right. Linguistics are interested in the many different languages that are spoken in the world today, more than 3,000. They are concerned and interested in their morphology, its structure, its contents. They do comparative analysis between different languages to trace origins and to trace relationships. But they are also interested in language as a form of expression that has to do with our biological makeup. So it's quite a complicated field of human inquiry in anthropology, and one that relates to, say, a number of other disciplines like psychology and biology and whatnot. So from an anthropological perspective, a linguist will be the one person that relates language and culture. Another subfield of anthropology, it is archaeology, which is those anthropologists who study human action and activity in the past. Oftentimes they are deemed as the garbologists, that is those who study trash, because it is true that most of the traces of human existence is what we have left behind as we occupy and use different areas of the planet. But in reality, what archaeology is helping us understand where we stand today culturally and in our complexity, and they do that by looking at the fourth of the sub-disciplines of anthropology is archaeology. Archaeology is the study of the past. It uses the same parameters that regular anthropologists and cultural anthropologists will use for the present, or biological anthropologists for that matter, only that they do that by looking at the traces that humans leave regarding their past and past occupation of different parts of the planet. That's an aspect that we're going to be exploring more in detail later on in the semester. Before I finish this explanation for the chapter and for the module, I want to talk a little bit about applied anthropology, which is one of the areas, mostly from cultural anthropology, that are really interesting for people who would like to think of anthropology as a potential career. Applied anthropology is the use of anthropological knowledge to solve specific problems and issues that occur in different social settings. It can be issues of welfare, issues of relocation, resettlements, a number of issues where the anthropological knowledge is critically important. Keep an eye on applied anthropology because it has a major, it's an important field of professional promise and opportunity out there for those of you that are somewhat interested in anthropology as a career. To close this chapter, I'm going to go over some basic definitions with you. These are concepts that are going to be present hopefully in your life, but certainly in the exam, in the final exam for this class. So first of all, since we have defined anthropology as a biocultural development or story of humans, then we need to keep in mind the concept of species, because we are one more species in the planet from the anthropological perspective. It's an interesting species because we have a symbolic dimension that no other species will have, we do have, but we're nevertheless just another species, right? Culture is another central concept even in anthropology, and the one that defines very much so the discipline. So culture would be ideas and behaviors that we learn, and more importantly that we pass on to the next generation. So that's the idea of culture. There's plenty of definitions out there, but this is an initial approach to it. Then artifacts. Archaeologists use this word constantly, but it applies to all different areas of anthropology. An artifact is a manufactured object that represents symbolically the life of humans, and it's used for practical or symbolic, just cultural artistic reasons, but it's man-made, it is manufactured, and that's the idea of an artifact. We look for artifacts as representations of who we are as a species. The word holistic is another important word, because anthropology is a holistic approach. It's a holistic understanding of human experience. We need to bring knowledge from all different disciplines to be able to explain who we are. And hence, we define anthropology, the other word you need to remember, as that holistic scientific understanding of humankind. And last but not least, I also want you to keep in mind the concept of cultural relativity, which is the studying someone else's culture not from your perspective but from their perspective, which gives you a different, deeper understanding. You can then translate into your parameters, but the cultural relativity tries to see each culture on the planet as having the same value and same relevance. And that will be counter to an ethnocentrist view of things that perceives and grades and evaluate other cultures based on my parameters, which is what we normally do. But cultural anthropology and anthropology sees things a little different and brings that idea that other cultures have the need to be seen also in their own terms, and that gives you a deeper understanding. Alright, that's it for this session. See you in the next one. Bye.